Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining tonight. It's great to have everyone here. My name's Lindsay. I'm a college counselor with Great Expectations College Prep. Just a little bit about me. I am an East Coaster. I grew up in DC. I stayed in DC for undergrad. I went to Georgetown and majored in business. I worked for 8 years after undergrad as a TV writer producer. So didn't necessarily put that business degree to good use, but I went back to school in 2019 to get my MBA at the University of Virginia. So I graduated in 2021 with that degree. So I'm excited to be here tonight to talk to everyone about the value of undergrad business programs. So I'll lead through some information and I'll save some time at the end for questions. If you have any questions, like Lorraine said, go ahead and drop them in and we'll address them at the end. So just a quick overview of what we're going to talk about. I'm going to go through what a business curriculum looks like, majors and specializations or special tracks. And then I'm going to sort of use a format of answering FAQs about undergrad business programs. So what are the benefits of a business program? What will I gain from it? What types of companies recruit at business schools? Should I double major and minor? And then we're going to look quickly just at 2 or 3 top 10 undergrad business programs and sort of the differences between them, how they talk about themselves, and some of the stats in terms of admissions. And then we'll wrap up talking about sort of looking at, is a business program right for you? Why or why not? And then the question that everyone asks, how do you stand out as an applicant? So stand out from the many other applicants and gain admission to a top school. So let's get started with sort of just an overview of what a business curriculum undergrad looks like. So obviously this varies by school, but most of the time, most business schools have a core business curriculum that involves some sort of combination of these classes. So accounting, finance, statistics, marketing, some kind of intro to management class, and then some sort of combination of data and analytics 101, operations 101, international business, and usually some kind of business ethics course. And then depending on the program, there can also be a liberal arts course, so required classes in the liberal arts school, which are usually sort of calculus, maybe some other math, macroeconomics, history, government, sometimes American studies. At Georgetown, our undergrad business program is really traditional. So we had all of these core business classes and a few more, and then a pretty extensive liberal arts core too. So again, all of these classes, and then we also had required theology classes and a few other required classes. So just some basics there. Then looking at common majors, the most common majors for business students, the absolute most common major is sort of a general business administration or business management major. So if you're getting a bachelor's in business, it'll normally be a BSBA or a BBA, so bachelor's in business administration. But a lot of students choose to focus in on a major or double major, and the most common of those in order are finance, accounting, marketing, operations, and international business. And something that's unique about undergrad business programs that's not necessarily applicable to liberal arts programs or other majors or other tracks is that normally, at least at top business schools, you'll do a double major. So I did marketing and international business, and they're just sort of complement one another, and it's easy within the school to mix and match. So something to know there. And then there are lots of specialized programs and majors, way more now than when I was in school, that are really exciting if you know what you want to do in high school and you know sort of where your specific interests are. So just some examples of these, a few that are really interesting that I've known students have taken advantage of and have loved. So University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business has a business, energy, environment, and sustainability major, which is sort of its own program in the sustainability and business space, which is really interesting. Then NYU Stern School of Business has this bachelor's in business / BFA in film and television, which is great for entrepreneurs who might have an interest in film and TV or entertainment more generally. Michigan's Ross School of Business has this specific sales tracks called the Capo Sales Track, which is one of the only sales focused programs that undergrad business schools have, which is really great if you or your student know that you want to focus on sales. At Indiana's Kelley School of Business, they have an entrepreneurship and corporate innovation major, which again is really specific, but really interesting if you know sort of where you want to focus. Then at my alma mater, Georgetown's McDonough School of Business, there's an international political economy and business major, which is really interesting and sort of allows you to cross over between the business school and the School of International Policy and Foreign Studies. And then at Marshall, at USC, they have this amazing World Bachelor of Business program, which involves students living in LA for a year, and then living in China for a year, and in Milan, and having a truly like global experience, which is really interesting. So you can either sort of go the traditional route and major in one of the more traditional majors, or if you have a specific interest, you can seek out one of these more specialized majors. All right, so what are the benefits of a business program? This is what a lot of people ask is, why do this? Why major in business over economics or history or English or PR or whatever else? So this is my opinion. I think that one of the big things you learn as a business major is specific skills that you can take with you into the workforce. For me, one of the big ones, both undergrad and when I got my MBA, was financial modeling, learning how to use Excel, getting comfortable with numbers, getting comfortable with spreadsheets, and using them to create financial models, and then also for accounting, understanding how money comes in and out of a business. Then also PowerPoint, so learning how to tell stories and create PowerPoint decks is something really valuable that you learn that will come in handy immediately in any job or career that you pursue. And then public speaking, I think, is something that's not necessarily top of mind when you think about a business program, but learning to be able to speak in front of an audience, to be confident, is something that I think is really important and a big takeaway for business students. Then gaining industry know-how, like specific industry terminology, understanding how industries function and specific processes with industries can be really helpful for students, especially if they know what type of industry they want to work in after they graduate, to leave with some really specific knowledge there. Then some of the more common ones, a high starting salary. Business majors tend to have some of the highest starting salaries out of undergrad. Just two statistics here of the most recent undergrad classes at Wharton. Students had a median of $85,000 starting salary out of undergrad and $75,000 at Michigan's Ross School of Business. So yeah, an immediate return on investment, if you will, in some ways. Then business majors are widely applicable to various careers. So you don't necessarily need to have a specifically business focused career or traditional career in business after graduation to use what you've learned. For example, I went into television on the production side, so a creative job. I did not work in business after my undergrad degree, and I found that what I learned in school came in handy all the time. So not saying that that's what you should do, but definitely applicable to a wide variety of careers and industries. Business majors are always in demand. Consistently, business majors are in the top 3 of most in-demand employees straight out of undergrad. So there's some sort of job security there. Then recruiting is integrated into most business programs. So top business programs especially have recruiting processes integrated into the classes and into the school themselves. So companies come on campus to recruit students, and it really makes the process of getting internships and getting jobs, I don't want to say easier, but a lot more accessible for students. And then finally, having a business undergrad is a really strong base for entrepreneurship. So a lot of students don't want to work for anyone else. They have great ideas. They want to start their own businesses. And the things that you learn in an undergraduate business program really set you up for success to start your own thing, if that's what you want to do straight out of graduation. Okay, so what will I gain from a business program? The first thing is complex problem solving skills. A lot of this comes from the fact that many business schools, in addition to lectures and more traditional ways of learning, use business case studies to teach. So students will be tasked with coming up with solutions to real life business problems as presented through these case studies. And in my opinion, having gone through it and seeing students go through it, I think that this kind of learning really helps students to solve problems in the workplace kind of immediately, and maybe more quickly than some of their classmates in other majors. So having that real life experience and looking at problems and things that have actually happened and being tasked with sort of what would you do type questions is really helpful. Second, global business study abroad experiences. I find that undergrad business programs have really amazing study abroad opportunities if that's something that's interesting to you. When I was at Georgetown, I studied abroad in Barcelona. I took all my classes in Spanish. I had an internship at a marketing agency where everyone spoke Spanish. And it was just an amazing experience, like getting the experience of being in class in another country and using another language, but then also working in another country was really interesting. And a lot of business schools offer these types of study abroad programs, which I think are really valuable. This is a huge one that I think people know, but I don't think can be reiterated enough. A strong network, like you going to business school with a lot of people who are looking to get to know one another, who are hard workers, who have big aspirations and big goals. You will leave your undergrad business program with a strong network of people that you can reach out to 1, 5, 10, 20 years down the line. I still have conversations with people that I went to Georgetown with, a decade ago. And those networks really are lasting. So that's something to keep in mind, especially at schools where students are really passionate about the school regardless, like USC or Michigan. People feel a really strong tie, and those ties to business programs, in my opinion, tend to be even stronger. So then looking at sort of the hard skill versus soft skill breakdown, as I talked about before, hard skills, knowing how to navigate Excel, how to put together financial models, that's really important for work. And I think that having that exposure in school sets you up for success where you don't have to learn on the job in your first job out of undergrad. And again, PowerPoint's deck storytelling, understanding how to tell stories and use data in PowerPoint form is really valuable. The soft skills you learn in business school are something else that I think are sort of not touted enough, but really important. So I came out of business school, both undergrad and my MBA, with feeling a lot stronger on a lot of my soft skills, which is not something that I necessarily expected, but leadership experience, getting the chance to lead teams, to be confident as a leader, communication skills. So understanding how to work with a group, understanding how to manage a calendar and read emails and write emails and communicate with people. It seemed like simple things, but getting to learn those types of things in a school environment so that you can launch them in real life in your first job after college is really valuable. And then teamwork. Business school, there's a ton of teamwork, a lot of group projects, and this is great for simulating real life in a real work environment. When you're working, you won't be able to choose who you work with. You're going to work with difficult people sometimes, and sort of getting that experience again in a school setting, which is a little bit of a softer landing, is really valuable. All right, so another question that I get asked a lot is what types of companies recruit at business schools? And this is just an overview of sort of the main buckets of companies and industries that recruit at business schools. You can get whatever job you want. Like I said before, a business degree is widely applicable, but I'm breaking down here sort of the companies and buckets of types of companies that recruit on campus. So we'll actually come to top business schools, interview on campus, get to know students. So probably the most well-known or desired are management consultancies and banks. So management consulting firms like McKinsey, Bain & Company, Boston Consulting Group, Deloitte. These types of firms love to recruit out of undergraduate business programs. Their pay is some of the highest coming out of undergrad, and a lot of students see these as great training grounds for a host of different careers later down the line. So having these types of companies on campus and paying attention to you as a business school student is really valuable. Then banks, financial institutions, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Citi, Barclays, all of these banks love to recruit undergrads out of business programs, especially top programs. And these are really valuable, very desired jobs as well, and launching pads to great careers in the future. Then tech is obviously a huge world right now. So Google, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, Apple, TikTok, all of these companies are recruiting at schools like Wharton, Ross, USC, Indiana Kelley. They are really excited about getting top business school talent into tech firms. And then some of the less widely known but still present consumer packaged goods companies like P&G, Clorox, J&J, Colgate-Palmolive. They recruit for marketing roles and brand roles out of undergrad business schools. Then media and entertainment, specifically schools like USC and NYU, but all top business schools have some sort of presence on campus. But companies like Netflix, Sony Pictures Entertainment, NBC Universal, they'll recruit undergrads out of top business schools to join their marketing teams or strategy teams or operations teams. And then finally, healthcare and pharmaceuticals, companies like United Healthcare, Cigna, Aetna, Pfizer, GlaxoSmithKline love to recruit out of top undergrads for lots of different kinds of roles. So there are just lots of opportunities here. And obviously, if you want to do your own thing or you're interested in a smaller company or a different industry, those opportunities are there for you. But at most top business schools, these types of companies are actively recruiting you, and that's a really great resource to have. All right, so next question is, should I double major and or minor outside of business? So this is an interesting question. I'll give my personal experience first. I majored in marketing and international business within the business school at Georgetown, but I love to write and wanted to sort of do something more creative on the side or in addition to my business degree, and I got a minor in English. So that was sort of an interdisciplinary, like cross school plan, but it was easy enough to execute and lots of people did it. And I loved it. I thought it was having an English minor was a great complement to my business degree and made sense with what I was learning in the business school. So just running down some common interdisciplinary majors and minors, things that pair well with business degrees. And depending on the school, you can minor in business and one of these, or you can tack these on as a minor. So economics, computer data science, public policy, foreign language. So like if you speak Spanish or Mandarin, international business paired with a language of your choice can be a really exciting way to go. PR, communications, English, legal studies or law. A lot of business school students end up going to law school. So that can be an interesting way to sort of supplement your business degree if that's something that you're thinking about. Then psychology, which pairs well with a marketing major, history, government, American studies, and then media, sports, and entertainment. If that's something that you're interested in and that's available at your school, it's great to pair a business major with some kind of media major or minor. So what's the value of pursuing a major outside of the business school? Allow students to explore other industries and have some exposure outside of business specific education. So like I said, a business degree is widely applicable, and having some experience in different methodologies, having some experience in law or psychology or government can really help students to understand what they want to do after graduation more specifically, especially if it deviates from the more traditional buckets that I discussed earlier. Also, having interdisciplinary majors or minors allows students to gain experience that really complements their business coursework. Like, for example, my English minor, I felt really complemented my marketing and international business majors. I felt like I was able to become a stronger writer and communicator, which is really important in business. And I felt like I was able to sort of keep a little bit more of my creative side going, which definitely comes in handy when you're in a job. And then also, I think being able to incorporate some non-traditional majors or minors into your business program really allows students to think outside the box and think outside of traditional business tracks. So is there something that's going to be more interesting to you than a consulting job or a finance job? Being able to learn outside of the environment that you're in most of the time, I think is really valuable for understanding sort of what's out there and what your post-business school life or post-business school career might look like. All right, so I'm going to go through 2 or 3 top business schools and just kind of look at stats. These are graphics pulled from their websites, but we'll start with the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business, which is one of the best business schools in the country / in the world. But just looking a little bit at sizing, they're one of the bigger undergrad business programs, so 2,400 students in their incoming class, which is a lot of kids. And then looking at sort of the stats, they get almost 55,000 applications, which is a ton, and only 5% of the class of 2026 anyway applied early decision. So then looking at requirements, so ACT scores, SAT scores, they're obviously on the high side. Wharton's a super competitive school. But then looking at some of their numbers, they're majority female students, which is great. 18% students at Wharton are first generation college students, which is great. 55% of Wharton students identify as students of color, and 23% are from races and ethnicities underrepresented in higher education. So the great thing about a school like Wharton, which is so big and prestigious, is you're around a lot of smart people, but there is a lot of diversity in your class. And the school's also pretty flexible in terms of combining a Wharton degree with majors, minors outside of the school. Not every business school is as flexible. So I think going to a big prestigious school like Wharton can really afford you a lot of opportunities in terms of who you meet, but also combining courses of study across different schools. So that is Wharton. Then looking at USC's Marshall School of Business, which is an amazing business school, obviously in LA. So much smaller. They have about 4,000 students in the whole school. And thinking about sort of what the student body looks like, 90% of Marshall students have interned, so either before entering school or while they're in school. So that's a great thing about going to school in LA, is having the opportunity to intern maybe while you're in school. Being in a big city with lots of opportunities can be great in that way. 87% of freshmen are involved in international programs. Marshall has a great global thing to it. So anyone who's interested in global business or international business should really consider it. There's a lot of international programs. 33% of students are pursuing a double major or minor, so that's great. A third of the class is double majoring or minoring, and that can be within Marshall or outside of Marshall. And then 91,000 USC Marshall alumni worldwide. So just reemphasizing that huge alumni network and how that's going to come in handy again and again. So whether it's looking for your first job out of undergrad or 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road, having an alumni base like that is really, really amazing. And then some of their unique programs. So only at Marshall. I talked about this before, but this World Bachelor of Business program is really unique. Here they're calling it the only 4-year, 3-continent, 3-degree program in the world. But for a student who's really interested in having global experiences and wants to live abroad for more than just a short-term study abroad during college, this is a really awesome program. Marshall also has the nation's first integrated entrepreneurship program, which is really exciting. And it's the only school that offers a business and cinematic arts program. USC has the #1 film school in the world. So for students who are interested in sort of the intersection of business and film or business and entertainment, a school like USC would be an amazing choice. All right, so looking at our third school, University of Michigan's Ross School of Business, another amazing business school. Their thing, if you will, at Ross is sort of learning by doing. So experiential learning, learning in action. And the acronym that they use to sort of encompass the way their learning is designed is REAL. So Ross experiences in action-based learning. And this basically means that students have opportunities to invest in or become on the leadership team of or help work in real world businesses. So they get actual exposure to real businesses and they get to sort of try their hand while they're in school at making real life decisions sort of beyond the classroom, which is really exciting. Then looking at median base salary, $70,000. That's pretty great for undergrads. 94% of their 2021 bachelor's graduates received an offer by September 30th. So almost the entire class is employed by the end of the summer after they graduate. And then 235 companies hired BBA graduates at Ross in 2021. So tons of companies are interested, again, in these top business programs, and attending one of them really opens up a lot of opportunities for you. So then looking at class size, Ross is only 500 students a class, so smaller than a Wharton, which has 2,000 kids a class. And then looking at the average SATs and ACTs, I don't think it's surprising. They're all pretty high. 18% underrepresented minorities, 4% international students, 47% in-state, which is kind of interesting. But many out-of-state students want to go to Ross and end up attending Ross. It's such an amazing school. But yeah, I mean, these schools are difficult to get into, but they all have sort of unique value propositions, which I think is kind of showcased here, looking at Michigan and Marshall and Wharton, is that these schools are all amazing, tons of opportunities, but it's really worth doing your research into each specific school beyond just name to understand what their unique value proposition is and how they can set you up for success, especially tailored to what you're interested in or what your students interested in. So I just wanted to quickly go through how an undergraduate business degree stacks up to an MBA, or would you want both? Do you need both? Can you get one and not the other? These are the types of questions we get all the time. So just to sort of lay out the basics here, an undergraduate degree in business, a BBA or a BSBA, it's a four-year undergraduate degree. There are opportunities for students at most schools to sort of mix their business education with other classes, minors, majors in other schools. So there's a little bit of flexibility there at most business programs. Then group projects and individual work, lectures, tests are sort of part of the deal. So there's some traditional learning in the way that it's done in high school, where you're sitting in a room, you're listening to a lecture, you're testing, but then also some group projects as well. Then an MBA is something you would work for 3 to 6 years post-grad. So the average number at most MBA programs or top MBA programs is around 5 years. So you get work experience, and then you would go back to school to get that advanced degree to either go with a bachelor's degree in business or to go with another bachelor's degree. So two totally different isolated degrees. MBAs, in my experience, tend to have more in-class participation and more group work. So a lot of teamwork, a lot of participation in class, reading cases, and whatnot. And then MBAs tend to be pretty business focused. So not as many opportunities to mix and match with other majors and to be sort of focused just on getting that MBA. But just to kind of answer questions, there's no specific path to an MBA. Different kinds of students get an MBA, just like different kinds of students get a BBA. And you don't need to have a business degree undergrad to go to business school later. So students should really decide if they want to get a business degree out of high school based on what they're interested in. Like, are they interested in a business education? Are they interested in the recruiting opportunities? If you want to go and get an MBA later down the line, it's just not necessary to have both. So you should sort of decide, what do you want to learn? What do you want to do directly after undergrad? And then figure out what your life might look like 5 years into your career when you would go back to get an MBA. So just kind of reiterating this by looking at, again, top MBA programs class profiles. So this is for HBS, Harvard Business School. And the main takeaway here is just looking at this education graph. So seeing, 24% of students at Harvard Business School have business or commerce undergrads. But as you can see, like, the numbers, this is pretty spread out. So there are a lot of students that have business undergrads, but not most. 28% come from engineering, 19% from econ, 10% from social sciences, 5% from arts and humanities. So arts, humanities, liberal arts is definitely the least represented of the pie there. But I got an MBA, and plenty of my classmates were English majors or communications majors or history majors. So just sort of showing that MBA students come from all places, and it's sort of a different decision-making process than getting a bachelor's in business. And then here, looking at Stanford's Graduate School of Business class profile, just shows the same thing, that yes, a lot of students come from business undergrads, but just as many, if not more, come from engineering, many come from econ, many come from math and science, and then a smaller number come from liberal arts, but there are many people there too. So just kind of showing that there is some strategy to this, but certainly you do not need a business degree undergrad to get an MBA. The reason that I think these numbers sort of look like this is because admissions committees want to see that students are comfortable with math and quant, and their quantitative abilities are up to snuff. So that's why they sort of end up looking this way. All right, so last two questions with sort of a reflective lens. So is a business program right for you? So this is sort of boiled down to basics, but I think it is helpful in deciding, would you enjoy a business degree? Would your student enjoy a business degree? So let's look at this. A business program might be right for you if you like dissecting real life situations. So you like to read about current events or things that are happening around you and thinking about what might happen next. What would you do? How would you fix a situation? If that's of interest to you, then a business school might be a great fit. Numbers, I don't think you have to be a math whiz necessarily to succeed in a business program, but you certainly need to be comfortable with numbers and willing to learn. There's a lot of quantitative work that you have to do in an undergrad business program, so you should be comfortable, and your grades and scores and things like that should reflect that. If you like teamwork, there's a lot of teamwork, and then pulling in the next bullet, socializing and networking. If you like to work with other people, to work in groups, to meet new people, to network, then a business program might be a great fit for you, because that is a big part of not only classes in business school, but extracurriculars and recruiting. And there's a lot of talking and working together and getting to know people. And finally, completing projects under time pressure. This is something that I wouldn't have known before I went to business school undergrad, but being able to turn around projects quickly and deal well with pressure in finite amounts of time, I think is something that you'll see again and again and should be comfortable with. So who might a business program not be right for? So a business program might not be right for you if you prefer theoretical thinking, so sort of doing more introspective thinking or high level thinking or philosophical thinking, writing long papers. You definitely will not be writing often in a business program, way more sort of like brief memo type writing exercises and quantitative assignments. If you prefer working individually over working in groups, then a business program might not be a great fit for you. There really tends to be a lot of group work. If you'd rather just do your own thing and work by yourself, then you might want to consider what that might look like. And then finally, if you like being creative, artistic in specific ways. So if you really love to write, you love visual arts, you love dance, acting, if you're really passionate about something in the creative world or arts world, then a business program might not be an ideal fit for you. So I think it's good to think about what you would enjoy, what would set you up for success, what you're going to be good at, rather than sort of defaulting to business as a major, because it is competitive, it is a lot of work, or it can be a lot of work. So I think it really pays to think about what you want and what you like to do in thinking about if you'll apply. So last question, and this is the biggest question that we get asked, is how do I stand out as an applicant? So I want to go to a top undergrad business school. How do I get in? And what do I do to stand out from other applicants? So these are a lot of different ways you can do that, but we'll run through them. So high test scores, I know it's boring, but it's true. And your math, STEM, quantitative piece of your testing is especially important, but business schools do like to see balance. So you want to have test scores that are balanced enough. There's not one piece of things that's sort of outweighing the other, but business schools will definitely pay the most attention to your math or your quant scores. Good grades in challenging classes. Business schools want to see that you are challenging yourself. You're taking challenging classes, especially quant classes. So anything math related or STEM related, you want to take advanced classes. You want to do well in them. You want to show admissions committees that you are quantitatively apt and that you'll do well in a business program, that you can handle the amount of quant that will be thrown your way. And then if your high school seeks out relevant classes like economics or statistics or marketing or anything business related, take them. Show admissions committees that you're interested, that you have a little bit of business knowledge in a classroom format, and that you've sort of sought out these opportunities. So leadership experience, business related clubs and activities. This seems obvious, but it's true. You want to express interest and show that you've gotten as much business related experience as possible. So like student government is a great experience for leadership, DECA, debate club, public speaking. Those are the types of things that admissions committees love to see at business schools. And then just an emphasis on leadership positions. So getting a leadership position over joining a bunch of different clubs. So showing that you've run a club or you've held some kind of office or position that has had you responsible for something specific, like treasurer or vice president of communications. So these kinds of things simulate real life work experience, and they definitely look good to admissions committees. So work and internship experience. This is harder for high school students. I know it can be difficult to get an internship or any kind of like in-office work experience as a high schooler, but use your connections, talk to your friends' parents, your parents' friends. Could you intern at a real estate firm if you're interested in real estate and get a little bit of industry experience that way? Could you intern at or volunteer at the local chamber of commerce? Could you volunteer or intern at a marketing agency? Just ways to kind of explore what you're interested in while demonstrating interest in that you specifically are seeking out business related opportunities will look great for you. Then just keeping in mind that it is hard to get an internship or work experience in college, job shadowing. So gaining exposure to different careers, again, looking at the people around you. Could you, if you're interested in fashion, could you shadow one of your parents' friends who works in fashion? If you're interested in a hedge fund and you have one of your parents' friends manages a hedge fund, could you go do a few days of shadowing there just to see what that might look like, what an office looks like, what the people seem to be doing, what the projects are like, just to get a little bit of exposure that you can use in your application, whether it's integrating it into essays or as an activity, just again showing that you've taken some steps to really get the experience and to understand how different industries work. Then summer business programs, this is a great option for high school students, and there are many of them. There's two examples here, Wharton's Global Youth Program and the Michigan Ross Summer Business Academy. So seeking these out, some of them are free and you can apply to them. Some of them are paid, but getting experience through a summer program, especially when it's specific to what you're interested in, can be really valuable and can really demonstrate interest to an admissions committee. So if you're interested in entrepreneurship, like is there a summer program that you could do in entrepreneurship where you come up with a product prototype and have a pitch competition, or a marketing internship? If you're interested in marketing, could you find some kind of summer program where you could spend 2 weeks seeing through a marketing campaign? So thinking about what might be interesting to you and then gaining experience in it. A business program at a university is a great way to do that. Also, if you're interested in the university, it's a great way to make connections and get to know the school better and actually be there on campus for at least a few weeks. So highlight entrepreneurial ventures. A lot of times students will say, oh, I'm interested in entrepreneurship, but I'm not doing anything currently. And they'll forget that some of their sort of hobbies or side hustles are actually great examples of entrepreneurship that can make you stand out on an application. So whether it's like a mobile car detailing business or you're selling homemade jewelry on Etsy, these are entrepreneurial ventures, and diving into them on your application or building them up a little bit can really make you stand out from the crowd. So displaying strong storytelling skills, this is a piece of the puzzle that I think gets lost a lot. There's a lot of focus on grades and test scores and wanting to show that you're good at math and that you're quantitatively adept, but storytelling in business is a huge part of any business career. So showing that you're a good storyteller, that you understand what stories to tell and how to tell them, through your essays and just through the brand that you cultivate as an applicant, this can really go a long way to show an admissions committee that you have a lot of potential as a future business person or a future marketer or whatever you're interested in. And then finally, engage with the school. This is something else that I think gets lost in priorities. If you can, visit schools that you're interested in person, schedule tours, get to know the school as closely as possible. But now, like, one of the great things about this like post-COVID world that we're all in is virtual events. There are more virtual admissions events than ever. So attend them, ask questions. If there are pop-up events in your area, go to them. Don't be shy to get on the radar of admissions people and engage with them, let them know that you're interested, ask them smart questions. So yeah, I think this is something that's important. Schools do notice and note your level of engagement with the school, and the more you engage, the more interested you seem. So that's something that's definitely worth keeping in mind. So yeah, that is it for me. If you're interested in getting more information about Great Expectations, please call, email. You can sign up for a free 30-minute consultation. So keep us in mind, reach out if you have any more questions, and yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Great. Thank you so much, Lindsay. It looks like we have a couple questions and some time for a couple questions. If you do have a question, please go ahead and pop that into the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. That will just be easier for us to pull these through. So Lindsay, the first question here says, could you list a few colleges that have combined BBA and MBA 3+2?
So there certainly are programs that offer combined bachelor's in business and MBAs. To be 100% honest, the best programs or most competitive programs will require you to get some work experience after undergrad. So in my opinion, I would, if you're interested in getting, or your students interested in getting an undergraduate degree in business, I would do that, go out into the workforce, and then reapply for an MBA or apply for an MBA at the 3, 4, 5 year mark. But it's not, there aren't as many sort of combined programs the way there are for medical school or even for law school, just because MBAs require or rely so heavily on you coming in with work experience. So I know that's not really answering the question, but I would say to get the most bang for your buck, I don't know that a combined program would really give you what you're looking for.
Okay, great. There's another one here. It says, my son wants to stay in California, so he's looking at a number of schools in state that do not offer an undergrad business degree. Does it make sense to study economics undergrad in that case? And how different would that be from a business undergrad degree? Does it offer good job opportunities after graduation, like a business degree?
So economics is a great major, and many economics majors go on to get MBAs in the future or go into banking or consulting. So I think econ is a really diverse major and course of study in itself. The one downside I would say would be the recruiting opportunities. There are probably more, or not probably, there are definitely more on-campus recruiting opportunities for business school students than there are for economics students. But that doesn't mean that econ majors can't get the same opportunities that business school majors do. It just might be a little more difficult, a little more reaching out, a little more networking. So to me, that's really the big difference, is just you might have to work a little bit harder to get to those opportunities. But I think econ majors are really highly valued. And I think many people see a major in economics is very similar to a business major in terms of skills and education. So I think it's a great option. Just keep in mind that you might have to do a little bit more proactive job searching, whereas most business schools have recruiting coming to them, if that makes sense.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Do transfer credits, or sorry, do credits transfer over when studying abroad?
So this definitely depends on what school you go to. In my experience, all of my credits transferred, but I went to a Georgetown sponsored study abroad program. So as long as you're going to a school sponsored study abroad program, your credit should transfer. I think where there's some gray area is if you go to one school and then you pursue study abroad through a different university, sometimes there can be transfer issues. But those are all things that you would have to sort of determine with your specific school, with your specific program, but they should transfer. I will say my credits transferred, but the grades from study abroad didn't integrate into my GPA. And I think that that's pretty standard too, is that your grades they just can't, they can't parallel them to your grades in the States. So credits transfer most of the time. I think grades don't, but it's totally unique to each situation, each school, each program.
Okay, great. The other question is there a database online to find job shadowing or intern for business?
I don't know that there's a database per se. Again, I know it's sort of a tough answer because it can be a lot of work, but in my opinion and experience, the best way to find job shadowing opportunities is sort of informally through connections. So through friends, through your parents' friends, through your friends' parents, to try to seek people out who are working in industries or in roles that you're interested in and just ask, can I come for 2 days to shadow you at work? I don't know that there's a formal database that you can use to find those opportunities, unfortunately, but I mean, you could always try and see if you can, but most of the students I know who have been successful have sort of like leveraged connections or asked around.
Okay. Any ideas for a kid who can't decide between studying business or design? Any unique programs for those interests?
That's an interesting question. To me, business and design are pretty different courses of study. I think I would figure out how, like, if you want to get a traditional design degree undergrad, then there's not much that can sort of supplant that. If there's an interest in studying business and also design, a school like NYU Stern might be your best bet, trying to find some kind of being able to major in business, but also getting some design classes in. But to be, again, not a satisfactory answer, but there doesn't tend to be a ton of crossover, unfortunately, between like a traditional business undergrad and a design program, just because they're both so specific in different areas. But I'm sure that there is some sort of niche combination there that can be done. And you can also look at programs that might be able to make your own major to make a combination there, but none that I know that integrate them with sort of 50-50.
Okay, great. I think that's all the questions we have for now, but yeah, I just wanted to say thank you again to Lindsay for hosting. For everyone who's attended, please feel free to reach out to us with any follow-up questions, and there will be a recording of this webinar that will be sent out to all those who registered. So that should be coming out in a couple of days, but thank you all for your time and hope you have a great night.